Alright, no intro, no outro, we're just going straight in. If you don't know, I'm sure you know by now, it's impossible not to know, but Akira Toriyama is dead. I've recorded this like 4 times already. Like, I've already made this like 4 times. But I keep devolving into saying the same stuff again. Because literally, I just have no idea what to say. I mean, this is the most unexpected video on the planet. Like, most people in this industry, on the Japan side of things, I guess, they live to be pretty old. You know, most of the voice actors are pretty old. Older than he is. And they look like they're doing just fine. So, it's just a shock, you know. It's just a shock. And apparently, even though this was sudden to us, apparently it was not sudden, which is good. This isn't something that just happened one day, boom. No, apparently he was sick since last year. So, thankfully it wasn't sudden for, you know, him and his family. But, it's sudden for us, you know. And that's just the way it is. He was very private. Always super private. He didn't really care about being famous. His work was famous, not really him. You know, that's all he really cared about. He didn't really care about making his name known, but his work instead. So, and you see a lot of the articles, you'll see that he looks really young in a lot of the pictures, and that's because he was. He was so private that we only have one picture of him in the last 20 years. So most of the pictures you see are from the 80s and the 90s, from when he first started Dragon Ball. So yeah, that's why he doesn't look 60 in his pictures, because he wasn't. Most of his pictures he was pretty young, because he was just that private. He didn't even have pictures. I don't think he's ever had a social media account of any kind. Like, he was just super private. And there's nothing wrong with that, obviously. It's actually really respectable, because, I mean, this guy could have been so famous if he wanted to. But instead, he'd rather just have his work be famous, you know? And, I mean, I'm more so just saying this because if you don't really know who he is, that's why he did that on purpose, pretty much. He wasn't really like into just making himself more popular. So yeah, if you don't know who he is, that's because he really wasn't the guy who wanted to make himself known. But you definitely know what his work is, right? Everyone on the planet knows his work, for sure. So, yeah, if you don't know who he is, believe me, if he wanted you to know, you would have known, right? Everyone on the planet would know his name if he wanted you to know. But again, he wasn't super focused on that. Because you know his work, that's for sure. Everyone on the planet knows what a Goku is. So, that right there speaks volumes. Goku is definitely one of the most popular characters to ever exist in the history of the planet. You know? So, yeah. He is very, very well known. So I hope you can really put into perspective how big this loss is, because it doesn't matter what country you're from, he was just so popular that he reached every country. You know, Goku, Dragon Ball reached every single country. So a lot of people share similar stories, no matter where you're from. And I am about to be 20. And for me, 20 puts me at the perfect age to grow up with Dragon Ball. So I feel like most Dragon Ball fans are probably between the age of 12 to 45, maybe, in that ballpark. I feel like if you're in that age range, you probably know, you've probably watched Dragon Ball. If you're out of that age range, you still probably have seen or heard of a Goku before. So, yeah. But for those, that age range specifically, you've probably watched Dragon Ball. Most guys, I would assume, have seen Dragon Ball. If you're, I don't know, 12 to 45, I feel like. And for me, I am 20, well, about to be 20. So that put me in the perfect era to watch Dragon Ball Z as if it were happening for the first time. Because when I was 5, Dragon Ball Z Kai came out. Now obviously, I didn't know that it was a remake of anything, or a remaster, whatever you want to call it. But even in the year of 2009, I still have the same story as everyone else. And I'm much younger than the people who've seen the original airing of Dragon Ball Z. Because, again, I was just at the perfect time. I was 5 when Dragon Ball Z Kai started airing on Nicktoons. So I got to experience it like how people got to experience it when it first aired in the 90s, you know. So that's just really cool. I never saw anything like it. I don't know if it was censored. I'm gonna say it was, because it was on Nicktoons. So I'm gonna say I saw the censored version when I was growing up. But still, even with it being censored, if it was, I don't remember. I've never seen anything like it. And unfortunately, it ended at the Cell Saga for a long time. So, yeah. Because here's the thing. I remember, I know my full Dragon Ball storyline. So, I was like 4 years old, maybe 5, and I got this game called Dragon Ball Z Saga. Game is horrible, but at the time I didn't think it was horrible. Then all of a sudden, a few months later, they announced this TV show on Nickelodeon called Dragon Ball Z. I'm like, wait a second, they're making a show based off of this game? That's cool, I'm gonna watch it. So obviously I didn't know that it was the other way around, right? But that is why I watched Dragon Ball Z, because I had Dragon Ball Z Sagas on the PS2, and I played it, and I thought Dragon Ball Z Kai was a TV show version of that game. And yeah, that's how it started. And obviously, Kai ended at Cell Saga. It didn't get the Buu Saga until way later. But Kai ended at the Cell Saga, so I didn't really know. I remember getting games, and here's another coincidence. I didn't know that the Buu Saga existed for years because, get ready for this. This is a crazy coincidence, by the way. Kai ended at the Cell Saga, and then a few years later, I got a PS3 game called Burst Limit. Really cool game. But that game also ended at the Cell Saga. So I just had no idea that there was more stuff after that. And I remember playing Raging Blast, and I thought, like, I'm like, who are these, like, Boo characters and Deborah and stuff like this? I didn't know who that was. It wasn't until Battle of Gods came out where I really realized, oh, there was more to this that I didn't know about. But yeah, ever since I was 5, I've been a giant Dragon Ball fan. Maybe even less than 5. You know, I played Dragon Ball Sagas, and then Dragon Ball Z Kai came out, so I got to experience up to the Cell Saga. I played Burst Limit. I played Battle of Z, horrible game, but whatever. I played Raging Blast. Yeah, and then, you know, Xenoverse 1 came out. I played Xenoverse 1 like crazy. I played Xenoverse 2 even more. Xenoverse 2 caused me to be interested. Well, not really. I've always been interested in all the Dragon Ball games. So, Dragon Ball FighterZ gets announced, and I'm like, okay, it's a fighting game, but it's Dragon Ball, so I'm gonna play it. And pretty much that's the only reason my channel exists. Dragon Ball FighterZ is the only reason why I got into fighting games and started learning them. And it's the only reason why this channel exists. Literally. Because I was so into Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball games as well that Dragon Ball FighterZ was a must-buy. Even if I knew nothing about fighting games, I had to play Dragon Ball FighterZ. Because I just played every Dragon Ball game. So I played Dragon Ball FighterZ, and it turns out that I actually really like fighting games. And a few years later, what, 3 years later, I like fighting games so much, I end up making this channel. So, literally, the only reason this video exists, the only reason any video I've ever made exists is because of Dragon Ball. And you know, if you're NHL player, NBA player, NFL player, if you're just a sports player in general, you probably feel the same way. If you're a bodybuilder, fitness, anything, Dragon Ball has probably had a part in that. So yeah, rest in peace, Akira Toriyama. Obviously, he affected me and a lot of other people. You can't overstate how much he's changed a lot of people. So yeah, peace. That's all I gotta say.
俺はスーパーベジータ